I need some traction. You need
Entrepreneurship is hard. And behind all of the excitement, the IPOs and the office dogs, you really need passion, courage, grit, and perseverance, and maybe foolish levels of optimism at times to really succeed. I do know that foolish levels of optimism have definitely helped me. Our next speaker is Sarah Bird. She is the CEO of Moz, and she's here to share her story of accidental entrepreneurship, painful lessons learned, and strategies to thrive along the way. According to Sarah, entrepreneurship is the best, worst job you'll ever have, and strategies to thrive along the way. According to Sarah, entrepreneurship is the best, worst
Hi,
job
Traxon.
you'll ever
Thank you
have.
for having
Sarah
me.
Bird.
I'm certain that there are some of you in the audience right now who are like, Hi, Traxon. Thank you for having me. I'm certain that there are some of you in the audience right now who are right? Some of you are thinking, I know I can grow a pretty fabulous mustache, but no, I am not Rand. But you'll hear more about that story today. So they asked me to share lessons learned. Rand. And but you'll hear more about that story. When I started to make the list of lessons learned, like the sort of negative stuff was really long. And so I realized I had to give myself some kind of structure in order to make this not a totally, completely depressing talk. So I came up with this format. I didn't come up with it. I borrowed it from the internet, which I liked. And I'm going to talk about three sort of painful, hard lows of my personal entrepreneurship journey. And I'm going to talk about three highs, things that I'm proud of. I'm like, hey, yeah, that was great. I would do that again. That's awesome. And then in the spirit of continuous learning, three things that I still don't know if it's a good idea or not. And we'll all meet back here in 20 years and decide whether it was a good idea or not. So, or not. And okay, first thing, I'm going to share a lot of personal stories today. It is really important to me that you know that I know that I'm going to share this is not just personal stories, right? That other Mozers who were there would have a very different telling of these events. I'm going to share my perception of them. Who were there would have a very different telling. Also, I really hate advice because there's more than one good way to do a thing. There's more ways to get there, and so this is not advice. This is closer to catharsis. This is closer to, for those of you who have or will experience this, maybe you'll feel like, oh yeah, okay, other people have had these feelings, these thoughts, or these experiences as well. So my talk is a little different because I'm not here to teach you how to grow a great business. I'm a little self-conscious about that. My talk is about my personal journey and how you grow yourself. Also, I have never done this talk to time yet, so hold on to your butts, bring your really fast ears because I'm going to talk very quickly to try to get through as much of this as I can. Hold on to your butts. Okay, a brief intro to Moz. Give me a sign of life if you've heard of Moz before in one way or another. Oh, good, excellent, wonderful. Okay, so we did about 42.6 million in revenue last year. The vast majority of that is recurring revenue. We're profitable. We have about 160 team members. We have over 36,000 customers from all over the globe. We have won lots of awards and shit. Also, I curse like a pirate when I am very excited, which I am today. So I'm sorry. Your fast ears will also be sworn out a little bit. Our mission is to simplify SEO for everyone through software education and community. And I bet that those of you who raised your hand, you probably have had access to Moz or become aware of us through that education and that community and hopefully the software. It looks a little like this and like this. I'm not here to sell you software, so I'm like just going to go through that and check it out. Brief intro to me. A little like this and like this. I'm not here to sell you software. So I think in general you could say I reinvent myself. First of all, I want you to know I did my undergrad in SFU. Any from SFU, Science of Life? Yes, SFU. Okay. First of all, I want you to know I was a librarian there for a while, which is pretty awesome. I was I don't know if you guys have like ice here. I worked under the table as a cleaning lady while I was doing my degree here. And I went on to law school. I practiced law for a little while, and then I came to Moz, and I have been named a Puget Sound 100 Women in Technology. I've been nominated for GeekWire CEO of the Year 3 times. I've been named an Ernst & Young finalist for Entrepreneur of the Year, and I sit on 2 boards, one of a nonprofit called the Washington Technology Industry Association and one for a private company called Citrion. I'm sharing those things because I'm about to unload on you so many mistakes that I felt it important to at first put some bonus feedings up front because I'm about to unload on invite the train wreck to the conference. But I felt it important to
so that's why I did that.
So you weren't just like,
it's possible for you too to have bona fides someday.
So that's why
okay, so we're going to go back in time. So I'm doing the 3 and 3 and 3, but I'm going to go chronologically, right? So we're starting with why I came to Moz. So I'm doing the 3 and 3 and 3, but I'm going to go chronologically. There's me, there's Rand, there's Jillian. About 10 years ago, I joined SEO Moz. It was called SEO Moz. Any like one remember SEO Moz? Signs of Life. Yes.
About 10 years ago, I joined SEO Moz.
So that was back in 2007. I had left the law practice, thinking to myself, I'm going to learn so much about how to do a business, and I've got this mother-son founding team, and it's going to be awesome. I know about law, but I don't really know about how to do a startup or a company. I'm going to learn so much from these like super savvy business people. I don't really know about how to do a startup or. And there's this is like January after I started in November, and we're toasting like 3,000th customer.
This is a few
customer.
This is like January after
there's
I
Danny Dover for those of you. He was our intern at the time. Freaking awesome, right? Anyway, lots of great people there.
There's Danny
of course,
Dover,
then shit got real.
He was our intern at the time. He's
pretty quickly.
Awesome, right?
To share this with you because we made our own. We're super dorky.
Of course, then shit got real.
Shit got real, and it got real fast.
To share this with you because we made our own. We're super dorky.
Basically, we had no fucking clue what we were doing.
It got real fast.
This is a real picture of Rand and I.
Basically, we
had
had
no
no
fucking
fucking
clue
clue
what we were Rochambeau,
doing.
rock paper scissors to make a decision.
This is a real picture
because we
of
were like,
Rand
I don't
and
know.
I.
Do you know? And we
One of our
talked it out, and we're
old
like,
dinky offices
both those
playing
ideas sound
Rochambeau,
good.
rock, paper,
Okay,
scissors,
well you're one and
to
I'm
make
the
a
other, and that's how we're
decision.
gonna
Because
decide.
we were like,
So we
talked it
didn't
out,
know
we're
how to
like,
hire
both those
people.
ideas
We didn't know
sound
how to
good.
fire people. I had studied literature and philosophy in college. Rand didn't finish college.
So we didn't know how to
We
hire
had never like
people.
worked
We
at
didn't know how
another
to fire
startup
people. I had
before,
studied
so
literature and philosophy
we
in
were not
college.
well
Rand
equipped
didn't
to
finish
do
college.
this job.
We had never like worked at
so
another
you're all
startup
like
before.
you should be feeling pretty good about yourself because we made it this far, right? And I'm sure most of you are more prepared than we were.
And so you're all like, you should be feeling pretty good
in this
about yourself.
challenging time of like, how do you even build or ship software or price it or get the right team on board? And this turned into
like, how do you
one of
even
my
build or ship
lowest
software or price
lows
it or get the right
at
team
Moz.
on board.
In part because I was still so new to my career, I didn't even have good coping skills yet of how to deal and rationalize with this kind of magnitude of challenge. So in addition to realizing like, oh shit, they're not going to teach me anything. Nobody knows what's going on. We're going to have to figure this out together. Like, oh crap. It also became clear that there was a pretty substantial leadership and philosophical gap between Rand and Jillian, right? That she had started this amazing company. Rand had become the CEO when it switched to SEO Moz, and that transition worked well for in between them, but was not working well for everyone else on the team. And now, I don't know about you, I have relationships where for me it seems to be working fine, but for other people around us it's not, right? Because we've come to sort of a coping mechanism for each other, but other people are like, I don't know what's going on with you guys, right? So it was kind of like that for the rest of us on the team, which put me in an awkward position. I want to say like Rand and Jillian are on the record about their transition. I'm not going to tell their story. I'm offering my story of what it was like to be the go-between for two people who love each other, trying to work on a company together, and then me, the like fancy new, I've never run a company before, but I'd like to tell you what is going on is not working. And so you can imagine that maybe they had some feelings of resentment towards me, perhaps, which have been pretty justifiable, right? Put yourself in their shoes, like, what is she talking about? Things are fine. And here she is telling us the whole team's going to quit unless we figure out our leadership stuff, right? I was not very popular. I had to like sort of shovel shit for a while. And I was like, I didn't come here for this. I came here to learn how to do company stuff, you know? So future really uncertain. I could have given up at that moment. I'm really glad I didn't, because it did help contribute to one of my highs, right? One of the things I am most proud of. So sign of life, if you've heard of tag fee a little bit, like, yeah, oh, okay. So this is awesome because tag fee is a word we made up that represents our core values because we have so many. We are a very values-driven company, and it stands for we are transparent, authentic, generous, fun, empathetic, and exceptional. So how this came about, we're having this it's within the first 9 months I've joined, and we're having a board meeting where basically everything bad is happening, right? Like the product's delayed, we don't know how to price it, like the funnel is not going as well as we thought, we don't know if we should hire some people or fire some other ones, and then we've got this whole leadership founder thing going on also in the background, right? So
Rand and I were both very surprised when our board member, Michelle, suggested we take some time out and do some values work. And I remember, like, cynical, naive, young me was like, is she in the same company that I am in? We don't have time for that shit. We have got real business to do right now. We are gonna run out of money. We have got to learn how to launch software. Which, luckily, I mean, she's an amazing woman. She's still a good friend of mine. She's still on the board. And she quietly insisted that, no, this is really something that all the great companies do, and it's gonna be worth your time. So we kind of like groaned and rolled our eyes. We're like, okay, we'll do it. Like, we already have values. Like, I don't know why we have to write them down, but fine. And it ended up being completely, totally, wonderfully amazing, because having the conversations about the values you share is transformative. Especially, this was her wisdom, this was her insight that I would have missed out on, especially in that moment when your relationship is at a very weak spot. Especially in that moment when the company looks like, I don't know if we're gonna make it. That is exactly the right time to come back together as a group and say, what do we stand for? What do we believe in? Why are we all here together instead of all of us somewhere else with other people working? So that's how we came up with TAGFI. It really did save my relationship with Rand at that time, because it brought back to the table like, oh, that's why we're both together. Because we do trust each other, because we have these shared values, and we're both gonna work very, very hard to live them every single day. And that's taken on an incredible life of its own, which leads me to another high. 2 highs in a row. This is great. So one of the things I'm really proud of at Moz that we did right is that we have this incredible community of digital marketers, and some of you are probably members. I mean, it's a completely awe-inspiring and amazing thing to be a part of. So it started as SEO Moz, the blog. It was a community first, it was a blog first, before it was a company, which is awesome because by the time we were a company, we already had a little traction. Most of you, as a community, most of you who are starting your companies are starting day one with zero community, huh? And it probably makes you want to kind of give up, like, uh-oh, I don't know if this community thing is going to be for us. It's a long game. It's a long game, but it is worth it. I mean, that is the flywheel, and you've got to start sooner or later, so please don't give up. Be authentic, build that community. You know, for Moz, when we started, it was, we had 15,000 visits a month in 2007. We have 2 to 3 million visits to the blog today. The content is co-created. Maybe some of you in this room have contributed. It's like hosting an amazing dinner party where you're just responsible for making sure that the guests understand that we have sort of rules of engagement at this dinner party, but it's only a good dinner party if everyone shows up and contributes. We practice what we preach, which I really like about it. It means that our cost of customer acquisition is super, super low. It's like $129. Which is pretty amazing. So of our free trials, we get 75% of them are from organic sources. It means that our customer acquisition cost to lifetime value is a more than 6 ratio. So it's a very capital efficient way to run a business. So it's also a responsibility. They will hold you accountable. Those tag fee values, the community knows about it, signs up for it, and will call us out. Like, what is going on over there? You have got to explain why you made this decision. What is transparent about this? How are you being generous to customers? And they'll call you out if you're not being authentic and empathetic as well. This is an actual guy, an actual community member who, that's our mascot. He got an actual, that's a real tattoo. That is not a temporary tattoo. That's amazing, right? Who's like, that's crazy. I'm the CEO. I don't have a tattoo of our mascot yet. And guess what? He's the 3rd person to have a real-life Roger tattoo on their body. Wow, I mean, I get chills just thinking about it, right? That's an incredible experience. So that's the power of an amazing community, is it becomes meaningful to them. It's like owned by the community, and you just gotta like make sure the party keeps rocking by providing the right environment. Okay, let's go to some lows. So some time goes by, the company is doing well, and I'm sharing this because this is an emotional low, not a business low, and we don't talk a lot about this as entrepreneurs, so I wanted to share it with you. The company, by all accounts, is doing really well, and so am I. By this point, I'm the chief operating officer in the company. We'd been doubling revenue every year. We were profitable. Like, things look good, right? They sound good. I kept having these thoughts like, you know, the company should really fire me and hire someone who knows what they're doing. It was one thing when we were a scrappy team and we couldn't afford to have someone who really knows how to do the finances. It's another thing when you're a $20 million company to have a literature major running the finance team, right? And I was just
the more successful we were, the more I convinced myself, we should hire real professionals. I should fire myself. Like, Rand's not going to fire me. I should fire me. Luckily, I got some help. Oh, I should say this is how people perceived me, I think, at the time. Like, she's the COO. She knows what she's doing. And this is how I felt, like, most days. It was a pretty big gap. Okay, cheap joke. And so here I was at this feeling like I can't go on despite all the success the company is having, and objectively I was having as an individual, right? And I joined this group. It's not important which group. It was Vistage for me. There are lots of them where you meet once a month to talk with other professionals about your business, right? And you kind of get to unload in a confidential, safe place. And so, of course, the first meeting rolls around. I'm feeling really nervous. It's obvious I'm one of the youngest people in the room. And I have this whole framework of everyone else knows what they're doing. And the first two meetings validated, you're shocked, it validated my assumptions, right? Surprising. I kept thinking, these are the kinds of people that Moz should hire. These are the kinds, like that VP of product guy, we need him, we need that CFO lady, we need that person on our team. And it just validated all my own insecurities. Luckily, I had paid a gob of money up front, so couldn't cancel easily, so I kept going. And I started to slowly listen newly to that experience, to the experience of hearing other people share what their challenges at work are. And I uncovered the most amazing thing, which is that having an MBA doesn't suddenly make it really, really easy to fire a friend. Or that being in business for 15 years doesn't suddenly make it very easy to make a major strategic decision when you have limited and sometimes conflicting information. That having had many different kinds of roles doesn't make it easy to break news to your team that someone on your team has just died, right? Like all this stuff that happens in the workplace that is hard, like your experience doesn't take the emotion away from it. It may give you more tools on how to actually address it, but the emotion is still there. And so from the outside, it can seem really simple. Well, you just do A, B, and C, but never for the person in it. So this was a huge revelation for me that I still occasionally have to relearn, where I stopped being so myopic and narcissistic and didn't make all the challenge at work about me. Like, oh, it's really hard, I must suck. It's like, no, actually, business is just hard, turns out. And so I sort of refactored in my head, like, fuck it. It's just gonna be hard, so you're just gonna have to do it. You're just gonna have to, like, jump on over. No one really knows like what's going on, so like just go. And your job is to solve problems. If there were no problems, or if it was easy to do these really hard things, then everyone would be successful all the time, and it wouldn't be what it is today, right? So another metaphor I want to give you, which is a little bit similar, is this metaphor of mountain climbing, because I don't want you to be mistaken to think that Sarah says it doesn't matter if I have training or background or that my MBA was worthless. That is not what I'm saying. Mountain climbers train. They train very hard. You can skill build. Your experience matters. Regardless, you can do every single thing right and still not summit a mountain that day. Sometimes the mountain is going to win. So why do people do it? Why do mountain climbers do it? Because they like things that suck. And that is what entrepreneurship is like. You've got to like things that suck. Yes, thank you. It sucks. Yeah. And so for me, this is actually a huge, like, it's one of these sort of like Buddha moments, like the best you sort of like worry about, am I going to succeed? And is this supposed to be fun? Am I having fun yet? Suddenly, when you let go of that, it actually becomes more fun. It's like this sort of weird sort of hippie thing you can do, right? So I hope that that metaphor is helpful to you when you're facing a business challenge. It's just mountain climbing. Mountain climbing is hard. You can train, you win some, you lose some, you move on, but you got to keep climbing that mountain, right? Because we have to. I get asked a lot about this transition from Rand, who was the CEO, to me, and so I will call it out here as a high for me. I mean, it was a pretty amazing thing to have. This is Rand. The day we publicly announced the transition. It's incredible to have people around you who see more in you than you do in yourself. So I hope that you find a community of people like I have at Moz who can see your strengths more clearly. Because I tell you, the first time he mentioned, Sarah, you should be the CEO, I thought he was joking. And we all laughed it off, didn't even talk about it. The second, third, and fourth time he mentioned it, I started to think, maybe he's having some imposter syndrome. Maybe he just thinks he's really bad at it, and I think Rand is capable of anything he puts his mind to. He's an incredibly gifted, talented, wonderful, hardworking human being, and I did not want any part of validating his imposter syndrome. So I just sort of brushed it off, like, oh no, we've got a great CEO already. We don't need a new one. So eventually, after I started hearing from other people, so I hear you're going to be the CEO of Moz, I was like, oh shit, maybe I should actually have a heart-to-heart with Rand. And it turns out, no, he really did want me to be the CEO. I said yes at the time, I would do that. I did not feel it in my gut that that was the right decision for me or my family for probably another 3 months. And I'm glad, because if I had overanalyzed it, I might have wimped out. I'm so glad I didn't, because it was the right decision for me. I also want to just do a little shout out. I love this quote. To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody else means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting. God, I love that. I think about this quote when I think about Rand and the courage he had to see a path laid out before him that had all this cultural cachet, that his ego could totally have been wrapped up in, to be the CEO of this company. And he said, you know, despite I am capable and there's cultural cachet, it is not the path for me right now. I'm not going to walk it. I'm going to choose a different path. I'm going to find a different way. And I applaud that courage. And if you want to read more about Rand and why he stepped aside, he is very public about what he was struggling with at the time. He was struggling with depression. He's very outspoken about mental health issues, especially in startups and entrepreneurs. So I encourage you to read that if you have something like that going on in your life or with someone you love. So shout out to him. Okay, hurting people you love. Okay, this sucks. Gosh, I was so jealous of Jay, the Atlassian guy who spoke out earlier this morning, because we had this wonderful plan at Moz, a strategic plan we were super excited about. We said, okay, we got SEO. We love SEO. We're doing that. We're going to keep doing SEO. To get future growth, we're going to launch products in these adjacent areas. We're going to launch a content product. We're going to launch a social media product, right? We're going to focus on this local SEO thing. And we placed this sort of series of bets. It's a strategic plan. The team came up with it. I blessed it. We were excited. We put millions of dollars. I recruited a whole team, say, hey, we're going to build this out. It's going to be great. We're going to cross-sell. It's going to be wonderful. You know, quit your job. Join me. And then it didn't work. After about a year of building, 9 months of having them in market, it was clear that 2 of the products were not working. That's a terrible thing. It's going to happen to all of us. It was awful. That day of having to tell the team, we got to shut these products down and I'm going to have to let go of their teammates. Also, I want to share this too. I know that wasn't the hardest day for me. There were other people who that day was even harder for. But since I'm on stage and you're entrepreneurs, I want you to hear the perspective of the person who has to be on the stage to say, I'm so sorry, I feel like I betrayed you, even though I didn't mean to. It's a very disappointing, heartbreaking thing to do. And weirdly, the day it happened was both a super hard, awful thing and this beautiful thing. Because people hugged each other, they thanked each other, they came together, they celebrated each other, and at least they knew, you know what, well, we really tried. We really gave it our all. These ideas didn't work, but we really tried. So that day had some mixed blessings. What I wasn't prepared for was the time after. I wasn't really prepared. I knew that day would suck, right? Getting up and telling people you have to let go 30% of the company is a shitty day. That's obvious. Less obvious how the following months were going to go, right? Especially this idea of how do you get that energy and that momentum to face risk again? Intellectually, it's easy. Emotionally, it's very challenging. So how do you get that pep? Okay, let's go place some more bets. Let's do some more. Let's take some more risks. Okay, so I have a crush on this guy. Who's this? Yeah, we all have crushes on Elon Musk. Okay, and so he's trying to do this amazing thing right now. Originally, when I started telling this story to the team, to help all of us remember what taking risk is all about, he hadn't successfully launched these rockets into space and then landed them back down on his platform in the ocean yet, right? So we all have the end of the story here today, that he has successfully done this to revolutionize space travel, right? This is one of the stories I would share with my team that I'm going to share with you that helped me feel okay, got to get back on the horse and keep taking risks. So here's some stuff he would say after some of these rockets would explode spectacularly. Each rocket is worth tens of millions of dollars, highly publicized, watched, live streamed by everyone, right? Very public mistake, tens of millions of dollars. All right, I've said that enough times. Here's some things he would say. Next rocket landing on drone ship in 2 to 3 weeks with way more hydraulic fluid. At least it should explode for a different reason. Tens of millions of dollars, right? And the corporate account close, but no cigar this time. It wasn't close. It wasn't even close. Like, it totally missed it. It was not close. Or here's another one. Well, at least the pieces were bigger this time. Won't be the last RUD, but I'm optimistic about upcoming ship landing. RUD is rapid unscheduled disassembly. Nerd jokes. I love it, right? Like, that's, wow, millions of dollars. Rocket landed hard on the drone ship. Didn't expect this one to work. Very hot on reentry, but next flight has a good chance. Wow. What kind of leadership is that, right? I take a lot of personal inspiration from this and how great it is to be an engineer on his team. That you could reasonably have expected him to respond less graciously in those moments, but he didn't. He was embodying this spirit of we're going to try, we're going to fail, we're going to keep going. This is life. This is how hard work happens, right? And so we have adopted this phrase a little bit at Moz. You got to blow up a lot of rockets. That's what we're doing here today. We're blowing up a lot of rockets. You're going to blow up your rockets. I certainly blew some up last year. We got to keep going, which really embodies the spirit of growth mindset. I'm going to go quickly through this because you guys, I think probably most of you have heard about growth mindset. If you haven't, there's some great TED Talks and YouTube videos about it. Fantastic. But basically, fixed mindset would be an example of that could have been, well, we're just shitty at launching new products, so we just shouldn't launch new products anymore because we're not a product company, right? Growth mindset is like, wow, that one product didn't go very well. Let's keep trying again. What can we learn? What has worked in other areas? Let's keep going. We haven't figured that out yet, right? Here's some other qualities we like to talk about at Moz of teams who have growth mindset. Desire to learn, embrace feedback, love a challenge, keep trying, inspired by, not just copying, inspired by others. I think a lot of the folks have talked today about themes like this, right? Okay, so that was growth mindset. I have 3 quick things. Am I getting close? 3 things I don't know yet. 1, compensation policy. So I was very inspired by Daniel Pink's book, Drive. I read the audiobook. It's amazing. Anyone read that? Autonomy, Mastery, Purpose. There's this great YouTube video that you can do 10 minutes worth of the key nuggets. You should just use that as your cheat sheet if you're time constrained. But I was maybe over-inspired by this to the takeaway of people they actually work less hard and they're not as creative whenever their job is creative problem solving in nature, that money actually disincentivizes us. Like, we all think like, oh man, everyone's gonna work so much harder if they get lots of money at the end. And the social science says that is not true, but we all do it. I bet all of your companies have bonus plans based on your financial results, right? Or at least certainly for the executive team. So we don't do that at Moz. When you're smaller, that is a little bit less weird. Like, the bigger we're getting and the more I'm recruiting very senior executives who come from this culture of like, what do you mean we don't get a gigantic bonus if various targets are hit? It's getting more and more awkward and more weird. But I'm sticking with it. Like, we don't do that. Like, you get a great base salary. You do get adjustments in your salary based on your performance, but it's not based on like company targets. That could be a terrible mistake because I am apparently one of the only people doing that. There you go. Check back with me later. Another one. So you heard a lot about this today. But I love this term. What was it? Feathering on enterprise. Just love this image. We're just going to feather on some enterprise revenue. That's what I'm doing. So we have this incredible self-service roots. I'm really, really proud of what we've been able to accomplish self-service. And also we're focused only on SEO, but we do want to serve the enterprise better. So we are adding on this revenue stream. It's a very different way of thinking. I was taking like furious notes with Megan's presentation about sales and marketing working together. I'm like, because we never really had to do that at that level before. So ask me whether or not we have been able to feather on enterprise, or whether or not that did not go so well. And then the last one, of course, is Rand's continuing to evolve role, right? He stepped aside from the CEO role, but he's still very involved and engaged at Moz on the marketing side, evangelism. Have you guys had the opportunity to hear Rand speak? He's spoken at this conference before, right? Gosh, he's so gifted. And the Whiteboard Fridays, I tell you, those Whiteboard Fridays, he does those and he thinks taps his little pen, he thinks about it for 10 minutes, does a one-time draw on the whiteboard and then shoots it in one take. He's so gifted, right? I would be stressing about that for 3 weeks. And then he's also very involved and emotionally invested in a couple new product stuff that we want to get out this year. And after that, I expect his role to continue to evolve. I expect him to go on. He's been doing Moz or SEO Moz, some version of it, since he was a teenager. Imagine yourself in high school. Imagine yourself having the same job you had in high school, right? It's kind of wow. No matter how great the job is, it's kind of wow, right? Wow. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I do know that it will be influenced by tag fee. I do know that it will be like different and weird and awesome and totally exceptional in the way that only Moz can be a little bit weird. That was 3 highs. That was 3 lows, 3 things I don't know yet that we're going to meet back in 30 years. 30 years for the anniversary party. And I just want to close with this final thought, right? That this job sucks. But if you're in this room, it's because you really probably like things that are hard and challenging. So good for you. Let's support each other in that. You're going to blow up a lot of rockets on the way. And let's not forget the growth mindset part of growth hacking and growing a business. It's got to start in here too. Take care of ground zero first. And I will tell you more details at the bar later. Thank you guys.
I need some traction. You need some traction. Let's get some traction.